Yeah. Look at this. We got Ron Dante. You know him from the Archies, Barry
Hey
Manilow, and
guys,
so much more. And look at this. It's Ron Dante's Funhouse, new vinyl, new CD, streaming, all of the above. Sunset Boulevard Records. I know those guys over there. How did they approach you? How did this thing come together? And tell us about some of the highlights for those of us that love the Archies. Tell us about some of these unreleased songs.
yeah, we decided we had to get some of these unreleased things. So we have the theme song from Archie's Funhouse. We have dances and songs that haven't been really listened to for a while. Uh, we have the dance of the week, like the Surfer, the Jughead, the Milkshake, the Angel. We've got some great things. The Weatherby, the Veronica Walk. I remember singing all these. There were about a minute, minute and a half, all these dance of the weeks. Of course, I put on some of my favorites. Some of my favorite guys, like I work with Andy Kim, so I put on Andy and I singing "Rock Me Gently."
Yeah.
I put on Bruce Johnson and I singing with the Beach Boys singing California Nights. No, all summer long. And
Okay.
of course, we got some great things on there. Even put on Melody Hill, which was the B side of Sugar Sugar. Uh, my friend Len Fico, who owns the record company, we've been in business together for years and years, came up with the idea of a two CD. And then he said, why don't we do a pink vinyl? So that's what we did. So this is a real collector's edition. It's a limited edition. I'll be doing a signing here in Los Angeles within the next month or so for fans who want to come out and get the buy the album and get a picture and let me sign it for them. So there's going to be some great things coming up.
Yeah, I've known Lynn for years, and he's been a big supporter of classic artists and classic music, and it's good to have people like that out there that
Yeah,
aren't just looking for the new young, like I say, hit. It's kind of harder than ever to find that diamond in the rough, like a Taylor or Olivia Rodrigo or some of these young artists, Justin
mm-hmm.
Bieber and all that. But these songs are timeless,
Yeah,
like I said, if you love pop
yeah,
music, goes back to the 50s, even beyond that,
yeah.
but growing up in this era, it's a celebration. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, talk about the illustrations on the cover, obviously reminiscent of the Archies. Um, whose idea was that, yours or Lynn, or how did it all come about? Who drew it?
Well, I'm good friends with the guy who does the covers for Archie Comics, Dan Parent.
Okay.
And Dan has done many things for me. And I said, I'm doing a new album a couple of years back. And I said, would you do the cover? He said, you bet. I said, make it like a jukebox and the girls. And he said, here it is. And boom, boom, it came perfectly, exactly what I wanted. It looks like an Archie comic book cover because it's called Funhouse. So it's got to be fun. And I must say, he even did the back cover.
Oh, wow.
Look at that illustration. And the
Yeah.
man made me look great. And I'll be forever beholden to him for being such a talent and doing this for me. So that's why it looks like an Archie comic book because it's by the original guy.
Yeah, and look at the longevity of that series. You got the Riverdale series, you got the spin-offs, the your documentaries or the movies. I mean, it was a simpler time,
Well,
to reminisce about the Archie comics. Or that's what I loved about the Happy Days show. It kind of brought you back to a time that was simpler. We didn't
yeah,
have all these issues and wars and problems. And it's like a lot of people think social media makes things easy, the internet makes things easy. It kind of complicates your life too. It adds a lot of drama and hate and all that out there too. So the Archies remind us of a real simple time where going to the sock hop and feeding some coins into the jukebox and just
yeah,
enjoying a milkshake and some fun with some friends. It's really it's a comforting feeling.
yeah. It's good to look at. Nostalgia helps in times of strife. People need a comfort zone, and this is like music. And if people like it, I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, and you have other solo records out there, of course, over the years. What can you say? What are you most proud of? What are your favorite solo records that we should recommend people check out?
Well, my very first one was called "Let Me Bring You Up." Ron Dante brings you up. That was a Jeff Barry production with a couple of Jeff Barry, Andy Kim songs in it. I was very proud of that. That came out a couple of years after the Archies. I had a really fun time with a disco album called Dante's Inferno, which I did all disco tunes and
Uh-huh.
something like 79 or so. And then there was another one called Street Angel, which was my kind of harder rock, but not really harder rock, but a little bit harder rock than the Archies. So it's always been fun to do these albums. It's good to have them out because now they never really get lost anymore. The internet keeps them alive. There's always a fan out there who posts a song from them or talks about them. So it's an interesting time. Everything's been preserved digitally, so it can last forever. So if people 100 years from now want to see what music sounded like in 60s, 70s, or 80s or today, they can. They just pop in the dates and the time, and there up comes the music. They can listen to it. They can see videos. So it's a good time for that. Uh, I'm always happy to think about maybe I'll do another album. I'm thinking of doing a whole album of Disney songs from their great movies. Dante sings Disney. That's one I've been working on. I've got 3 or 4 cuts already. Probably next year I will get to releasing that one.
And of course, you did the theme song for the NBC sitcom Silver Spoons, All
Yeah,
Together. Um, you played on the Late Show with David Letterman,
yeah.
2010. What was that experience like, behind the scenes with Dave and Will and everybody?
Oh, well, first of all, the band, 2 of the guys in the band were guys who are on all my records. Will Lee, the bass player,
Mm,
played on every one of our hits for
wow.
Barry Manilow. He played every one of the sessions that I did as a producer when I produced Cher or Pat Benatar or anybody like that. Will Lee was always there. Paul Schaefer I brought in on some of the later Manilow albums. So the band, the Letterman band, was really, I knew these guys very, very well. Uh, I forget the guitar player in the band was also in the Barry Manilow Road Band. So there was all this interconnection. Paul Schaefer is a great old friend of mine.
Mm.
And I had a new CD out. He said, "Sure, we'll get you on the show." And sure enough, he got me on the show. David Letterman was very kind to me. Every break, he would talk about the new release and say nice things about me. Even during the introduction, he was very, very kind, and to an unknown artist, for him maybe. So I was very happy to do the mere fact that I was on the same stage as the Beatles and Elvis, the
Oh,
Rolling Stones and the Doors. It was like unbelievable feeling. You could feel it coming up through the wood in the floor. You could feel it in the auditorium, that there was magic in that area, that there was legendary stuff had been talked about backstage, and the world had seen that stage. So to be on it was a real, real thrill. I'll never forget that night. My mom was in the audience cheering me on, so it was a great night.
well, that's the thing, certainly about New York. There's such a deep, deep history, of entertainment in those theaters and on Broadway and, Madison Avenue, all these great incredible places. And there's a lot of history out here in California, maybe a little later, but I love driving around town. And even if it's not there anymore, just remembering where A&M Records was or where EMI was, or of course the Capitol Records building is still there. And they could never tear that down for one reason, and it's the basement. The studio is actually a historical location, so you can't touch anything that's above the
It's
basement.
unbelievable. People never realize that the building is shaped like a record stack.
Hmm.
It's a stack of records, and there's actually a needle on top
Yeah.
of the building. People don't
Yeah,
don't
you talk
really.
about those 78s, and your
Right,
parents' player, man.
yeah,
It's a
right,
stack right there.
yeah,
And of
yeah.
course, the Palace Theater across the street, Merv Griffin show and, the Hollywood Palace. There's a lot of history, here in Hollywood and
There's great history.
Burbank.
Hollywood influences the world forever, ever since the 20s. Hollywood influences, and I'm sorry they tear some things down, but it's still a great town for what happens in the world. They influence the world.
Yeah, people see that Hollywood sign, they know exactly where it is and what it is. I used to live right under it there in the Beechwood Canyon area,
Yeah,
but I'm so glad, secondarily, it's that Hollywood Capitol Tower. And coming up the 101, they've built, condos in front of it. So it's harder to see coming up 101, but you come from the valley down, boom, it's
yeah,
right there. And
right. It's
unforgettable
true.
Hollywood and Vine and
Hmm.
the stars on the boulevard. They're still awarding, music celebrities. and of course movie stars and TV up and down the boulevard, and of course in front
Yeah.
of the great Amoeba Records. There's so
Ah,
many
yeah.
stars. Frankie Valli got his recently. I mean, you
Nice.
name it. From
He, he,
you know
he certainly deserved it.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot of history,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of these younger acts that have gotten on the boulevard. They say, I used to busk. I used to just come down Hollywood Boulevard and play an instrument for spare change, and now I got my star. It's kind of surreal for them. They would look down at these movie stars and music celebrities as untouchable.
Yeah.
That's like something I could never dream of aspiring to,
Mm.
and they get their star, and it's so exciting. And music has always been that universal language. Even though we have the internet and all this technology, it's still the music that touches people. And these TV and movie companies pay top dollars. That's why these publishing catalogs sell for a lot of money. They
Yeah.
know they put that song in a movie or TV show or
Okay.
commercial, boom,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
have millions of people's attention right away.
Right away. Listen, I have another meeting coming up very soon, so
No
I
problem.
may have, I
We're
may have to
winding
cut
up.
this a little shortly.
Yeah, we're winding up. And
Okay.
and our special guest has been the one and only Ron Dante. You know him, love him, singer, songwriter, producer. And we encourage everyone to go get that Ron Dante Funhouse album on Sunset Boulevard Records. Ron, always a pleasure. We look forward to keeping up with you, staying in touch until our next conversation. Please keep that music coming.
You bet. Thanks for having me.